I want to talk about the running shoes that I've been using for the past year. This is the Saucony Endorphin Shift 2 and then 3. And so just to give you some perspective, the reason I started down this journey is that for years I'd always run in the Brooks series of running shoes. The Ghost, the Glycerin, the Adrenaline, Pronation, Neutral, I tried them all. And then my coach suggested that I consider looking at other shoes. And the reason for that was because at that time, he had said that a lot of the other running shoes had actually advanced in their foam technology. And I'll talk about that in a bit. And Brooks at the time had fallen behind. And so he had encouraged me to look at a couple other shoes. And the ones I looked at the time were Saucony. And I'd never ran in these shoes before. And so I said, I'll give them a try. And a couple things that I learned about them. So first of all, these are the Saucony Shift series are for your everyday base running period. So your recovery runs, your easy runs, etc. They're a very cushioned trainer. So these aren't shoes that you necessarily want to go racing because they're heavier. They were about $150. When I purchased them, they weighed about 9.4 ounces. Interestingly, the Shift 2 weighed about an ounce more. And so the technology got better over time. So this was a little bit lighter. And they are neutral running shoes. So it's not for pronation or anything like that. It's a neutral running shoe. It's highly cushioned. And this is my review after running in each of these shoes for over 300 miles. So over 300 miles here, retired, went to the next version, a lot more running in this one as well. So this is what it looks like after 300 plus miles of running in the shoe. And a few things I want to talk about. So first of all, this was a really good foray for me out of the Brooks series to try something else. I love the shoe. I thought it was a very cushioned shoe. Had no injuries during my training period. Felt really good. Felt supportive. That being said, it is a trainer, so it always felt heavy. And so I actually did run this shoe in a lot of workouts as well. And in those workouts, it did feel heavier than when I put on a race day shoe. I don't know if that's really bad because I'm in this phase now where I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't be wearing carbon shoes or lighter shoes when I do workouts. Maybe it's good to wear my trainers. And then when I put on my race day shoes, I feel a lot faster. So that's kind of what I was doing when I was doing the Saucony experiment was running in them like that. Um, but that's why I purchased them. A few things I thought was interesting about this shoe. Um, a lot of things are standard. The fit felt really good. I wear a size 9. The toe box I felt was wide enough for me. You can see them, everything held up pretty good after a long series of running. The only thing that typically was the reason I changed them is because the foam breaks down over time. And that's what I wanted to talk about a little bit. What I thought was really good about this shoe was that it is a different foam technology than the older versions of a lot of running shoes. And a lot of running shoes now are going toward this. So back in the day, the foam in most running shoes were chemically based filled foam. So think about, if you ever spray foamed your attic or something like that, you imagine what that foam looks like. Nowadays, in what Saucony does with their PWR-RUN foam, is they actually inject it with a supercritical gas. And in this case, the gas they use is carbon dioxide. And what's really interesting about supercritical gas is, and I have some experience in this because when I first worked as a lab assistant at Georgia Tech many years ago, we were actually one of the first people to experiment using supercritical carbon dioxide as a solvent to extract caffeine from coffee beans. Okay. The reason for that is because there's a lot of interesting properties of supercritical gas. Supercritical gas is this temperature and pressure combination where the distinction between the gas phase and the liquid phase disappear. And they almost, and it's like, it's not that they exist in equilibrium, it's that there's no longer a distinction between them. It's just a unique property of the fluid. And what's great about it is that the fluid behaves like a liquid and like a gas. And the reason why that's interesting for a foam manufacturer for a shoe is that you can lay the mold for the foam and then you can inject supercritical carbon dioxide into it. And because it's like a liquid, just think when you pour a liquid in a container, it fills the shape of the container. The same thing's happening here. But because it's also a gas, what happens is when you release the pressure from this and you have this foam, it creates this really evenly distributed, easy to manage structure with a bunch of tiny little air bubbles in it. And so the advantage of that is that you have this foam that is lighter than normal foam because there's all these little pockets of air bubbles. It's also very responsive because you can imagine almost the trampoline effect of having these bubbles. And it has a cushion. So it's lightweight and more cushion. That's the advantage of all this new foam technology. And that's what Saucony does. Supercritical carbon dioxide is what is powering their foam technology. And this was different than what I was used to before. And I would say, in my experience, what I felt like after running in these shoes was I felt the cushion. I felt like the cushion lasts. I don't think these shoes are even necessarily bad, even after 300 miles. I mean, they're holding up really well. Um, Everything's great about it. Like, the inside looks great. Everything looks great. They got a little bit of a smell, but that's normal. But just eventually the foam technology deteriorates and you want to get new shoes. And so that was my experience. Very cushioned, very responsive, a little bit heavier of a shoe, but that was what I was looking for when it comes to a different type of trainer. So if you're looking for a trainer, give this thing a shot. The only problem is they actually have discontinued the shoe as of fall 2024. That's not horrible because you can still go and purchase it off Amazon or another shoe site for a couple years. This is the 2 and the 3. I didn't run in the 1, but I imagine it's a similar feel. Um, but it's a good shoe to check out. So if you see it and you're thinking about purchasing it, give it a go. I think it's a solid trainer with a lot of cushion that can really help you in your running.